JB here. Friday, December 26th, 9/12. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Apologies for the delay here. Just had issues getting on. Talk quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. Welcome to the best performing day of the year, historically speaking. December 26th, since 1950, on average, a 0.49% cumulative gain loss. So just impressive stat there. And we're on the heels of 5-session rally. New Year's Eve made it 5 sessions in a row to the upside on the S&P. So we'll see how today brings. And Friday, New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve had the lowest trading volume of the year so far. And then if you look at Tuesday and Monday, also lowest trading. Tuesday was the lowest trading session of the year as well. So a lot of it you think, but there's not much in the way of headlines. Next data piece will be the weekly jobless claims next week. And then outside of that, and heading into 2026, there's not much. So what can really move markets here? Is it going to be technical based? Like if we start hitting support resistance on some of these names, is there going to be some kind of crazy tweet or update that might come out, some headline shenanigans? Hopefully not. If not, I think maybe we could just slowly melt higher. It's almost been like a boring melt up, but I think it's been, was 2012, 2013 was the first time that last time that the markets closed at all-time highs heading into Christmas Day on Christmas Eve. So a lot of remarkable stuff. And then the VIX, right? Take a look at the VIX under 14. So day number 2 of the Santa Claus rally, we close up 0.49%, 0.35% on the SPY on Wednesday. Take a look at probably some resistance, upper Bollinger Band 690, 690.38 is the upper Bollinger Band. We're at 690.62, maybe some chop there. I was saying it on Wednesday as well. I'm not saying I'm not open to getting put hedges if the market finds some weakness or sellers come in, but I'll probably wait for 686 to come in. To me, I'd rather wait for the pull and then use that as an opportunity to get some bounce calls. That's quick on the overall market today. Similar to Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. It's like these days, low volume sessions, and when you have low volume sessions with direction that doesn't move too much, low volatility typically doesn't bode well for trying to time ups and downs on the weekly strike. So in lieu of that, I'll probably just look for positions further out, going some strikes into 2026 like I've been doing. And if I see opportunities on some of the names that I like to play for lottos, and today might be an RH day. SanDisk, which is sitting here 249 here in the pre-market, that could be a nice mover today. And even Oracle and Broadcom, I might look for some of those names. But outside that, probably a quiet session. So that's quick on overall market. So Wednesday at the open, had those Broadcom lotto calls that I added on Tuesday. I had locked them in for 100% to cover costs, so rode those free into Wednesday. And then I was hoping for some follow through. And I don't have my chart here. Don't have my chart. But so it was pretty much open right around 350, and right away the sellers came in. It was 349, 348. Then we be in a spot where I lost my profits on those calls, so locked the last of the profits on those. And then I started looking for other opportunities. And Oracle, which was doing the opposite on Tuesday of what Broadcom did, was reversing. It was 196, 197. I was looking for some lottos, looking at the 202.50s, went and got those 205s. And then it found resistance right at 197 with 2 days expiration. Didn't want to be in a spot where I saw those premiums just evaporate. And typically I don't close weekly lotto calls out. I usually ride them, right? Because if you do this long enough, there's many times over the years where you close out a weekly lotto, and the reason I get a lotto is for a huge move, and then you get that huge move, but you close them out for a couple cents so that you didn't lose your entire position. So I tend to not close them out. A lot of times, in lieu of instead of closing them out, I'll look to get different closer strikes, things like that. But once it found 197, it couldn't break through that. I closed those lottos out for a small loss. Sure enough, it rallied up to 198. The lotto calls gained a little bit of premium, but then it chopped around for the rest of the day. And it's just sitting here 197 here this morning. So those calls will be shot. But I'll look for Oracle and Broadcom possibly today for some lottos. Nice little piece. I don't know if it was Barron's or the Wall Street Journal, just kind of giving like a snapshot of the Oracle story for 2025, which has been an interesting one, right? You had the huge move up in regards to what's going on in AI and its surprise. I call it the RPOs, right? The remaining performance obligations, that huge $500 billion number that they're throwing out there. And then it used to be a margin story, slow growth story, a great cash position story. Now Oracle's a debt story, which is pretty remarkable stuff. At some point, I think that one reverses. And now you have the backdrop of its possible investment in the bid for Warner Brothers. So lots of too much, I wouldn't call it clouds, but just not a clean story for me. So But at the same token, that it's down so much that there's an opportunity, I think, for a bounce. All right, so that's why I keep looking at that. And similar to like Netflix, I get questions on Netflix too, and I love Netflix, and you see what Stranger Things, they had their Amazon. I mean, not their Amazon. Amazon would have led Christmas Day with football, but Netflix got into football scene on Thursday, and you would think it would be a great time for Netflix, but now this bid that they're doing, to me, kind of like, I wouldn't say it raises a red flag, but I don't know if Netflix is a great story right now. So I kind of stay away. Similar Oracle, which has come down substantial. I think that creates opportunity where Netflix is still, I wouldn't, I mean, it's not near its highs, but that I kind of stay with. All right, so rants for other days on those names. So other names, so Reddit got some strikes into next week. I keep talking about at some point there'll be some kind of updated license agreement with OpenAI and Google, or Perplexity, or some of these other AI names which they have actual suits again. You have to think those get resolved, and when they do, Reddit's going to take off the race. I think it takes off the races anyway. Earlier this week, you already had Needham out putting its best idea list for 2026, and you have I don't know if it was another one of those analysts. It wasn't Jeffries, one of them. But anyway, so all bullish stuff. I think it should be trading north of 300 already. The fact that it's down here at 226 creates opportunity. And then other names. So, Sweet Green, which is a name, I don't know if I traded it this year. Maybe I traded it in 2024, but a great growth story. And, there were other facets to that business outside of just being a casual dining name that was catching the trend of bowls, right? The new trend and the protein trend. So all those different little buzzwords, Sweet Green was kind of front and center. And then that stock, I think, was 45 and change, came all the way down, slowing growth, competitive concerns, and then hit the lows back here at the start of November under 550. So then after that, you have an insider buy. Then recently, you have one of its founders from 20 years stepping down. And then their recent earnings, they announced that one of the avenues of growth, or at least some folks would use as a bull case, was their kitchen technology. I forget what exactly, not the ghost kitchens, but they had a process where they could automate their bowl creation, right? Instead of having labor to actually make the salads and so on and so forth, that they can automate some of that business. They sold that off to Wonder, I guess it's called. So they were able to get 100 million in cash and to still hold on to the ability to use that technology. So that, I think all this does is just clear the air for a bounce. And I'm not going to sit here and get calls for it to move back up to $40, but I do think there's an opportunity for it to trade $8.59 into 2026. I was looking for decent risk reward strikes. I got those January calls. Held the 50-day moving average on Wednesday. If it continues to have some follow through here today, I might look for some more strikes there. That's SG. Why don't I have my other stuff here? Still I added those more Kodak calls earlier this week. Still like that one for a break into double digits at some point in the coming days. Trying to think of somebody. Oh, still have Solar Edge flatlining last on Wednesday. Have to think with the energy names. I still think those are early innings, especially somebody like First Solar. Talked about that Intersect acquisition from Google, a clean energy name that you would think would add some fuel to some of the squeeze or fire to some of these names like Solar Edge and First Solar. Maybe coming days or at the start of 2026. And I think that's it. Speaking of 2026, my top 5 webinar will be out sometime in the coming days. Within the last month or so, there's been names that have been acquired. So if you don't know a status, like I think it's up to over 30% of the names that I have in my top 5 stock webinar have been acquired. I've been doing this webinar since 2014. So do the math, 5 stocks every year for the last 10 years, 11 years, that's 55 stocks. Double digits. I think it's like 13 or 14 of those names have been acquired, right? Pretty remarkable stuff. But anyway, the part of doing that webinar is to find undiscovered names that I think will provide some outperformance relative to the market, and names that are undiscovered. And those typically the names that offered better risk reward than just trying to chase some of these better known names like the Apples, the Googles, the Metas, and so on and so forth. All right, so have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.